Hello everyone, how are you going? Welcome to What If Canada Joined the US? An interesting question because I'm sure some people would say that would never happen and others would say it had already happened.
The United States and Canada, despite being two separate countries, share a lot of things. They share a border, a language, values, geography. They trade freely thanks to the 1987 Free Trade Agreement. The US and Canada are basically BFF, at least more so than any other two countries on Earth. But what would happen if Canada suddenly decided it was better off becoming part of the US? That's exactly what we're going to talk about right now on Life's Biggest Questions. Did you know that America once invited Canada to join the United States? In March of 1781, as part of America's first constitution, the United States officially invited Canada to join them with no strings attached.
Rightio, well that is certainly setting the scene. The fact that they have already been invited and could have been part of the United States of America, I mean from a naming point of view, it certainly would still be able to be possible. I mean from Canada's perspective, they might have to get rid of their provinces and make them the states, but then overall the entire thing could just become a massive conglomeration of states and you would still be the United States, kind of as though they already are. But then if we fast forward to today, 250 years has passed since that initial offering, and that is a monumental amount of time, especially if you look at what has happened. I mean obviously the two countries are still the two countries, but then considering they already have so many agreements and treaties and partnerships in general with each other, some people might argue that they already are one big entity just separated by two separate flags.
At the time, Canada was not what it is today. Only Ontario and Quebec were considered Canada, and there were only about 166,000 residents. But one condition for joining the US was Canada would have to end their relationship with Great Britain. Evidently, they didn't really want to do that. British colonists in Canada didn't want to leave the crown, and during the American Revolution, the Continental Army tried to invade Canada. So that didn't really sit too right with Canadians. The United States then tried to invade Canada a second time in 1812, and Canadians responded by burning down the White House. So since then, the idea of the two countries merging was a bit of a shot in the dark.
Well, to be honest, it's funny that they say they burned down the White House because I had no idea until I read that in the comments. I went, what do you mean someone burned down the White House? And now it has me wondering, is the White House, today's White House, is that the original White House that has just been rebuilt, or was there another one? Because even though I guess there is a bit of karma and retaliation involved in that and they did attack you first, it is pretty extreme to go into another country and burn their parliamentary house down. To be fair though, being Canadian is probably one of the most aggressive things they could think of. You know, they're not going to go in and just wipe out the entire country. No, if you burn their place of parliament down, that's super aggressive. Never mind the fact that the USA armies have just tried to attack you twice in the last 50 years. No, that's fine. Just go burn one building down. It'll all be even then.
So since then, the idea of the two countries merging was a bit of a shot in the dark. But if both countries decided to ignore the past and Canada joined the United States, the new country will be bigger than South America in size. It would have a population of 361 million people. Perhaps one of the biggest benefits to joining forces is America's new economy would be bigger than that of the European Union. Canada has substantial natural resources that remain untouched. There are staggering amounts of oil and gas, minerals and metals, water and land. The United States would be able to use those resources rather than importing them from other countries.
I mean, I guess I certainly understand where they're coming from, but I'm not sure if that's the thing that I want to be focusing on, how the US is just going to come into another country and make it their own and then just proceed to destroy it as well. Especially when we come back to here and just see how massive that piece of land would be. I can only assume it would be bigger than Russia, surely. Yeah, so if we have a look at all the different sizes we've got here, we've got 9.9, 9.5, and then 17 million. So, it's close, and it's only by 1 million square kilometers, which is absolutely insane. The two of the biggest countries in the world only just beat the biggest country in the world, but either way they would be bigger, and especially you can just see the reach that Canada has all the way up into Alert, and if you just go from east to west they would be kind of competing on Russia's scale as well, and so it is honestly pretty incredible how massive that would be. And so it would just be a shame if that was all it was turned into. You know, some legislation would say, okay, everyone down south, everyone into the USA, and then we're just completely destroying all of Canada just to get every last bit of resources out of it.
It would also mean that anyone who lived in the two former countries would be able to live and work anywhere. There would be countless job opportunities, business opportunities, and educational opportunities. Canadians could move south to warmer climates. Americans could move north to enjoy more space. And obviously, the Canadian wilderness, even though it's cold. If Canada and the United States joined forces, Canada would enjoy the protection of their new military. China and Russia are already after the Arctic, and it's estimated $35 trillion worth of untapped oil and natural gas. Warming global temperatures are causing the ice to retreat, and that's opening up a new sea and trade route.
I'm gonna have to listen to that number again because that was a disgusting amount of money. I don't even know if there's that much money on Earth at the moment.
China and Russia are already after the Arctic, and it's estimated $35 trillion worth of untapped oil and natural
$35 trillion. $35 trillion. What are we listening to there? According to a report by McKinsey & Company, I can only assume a massive economics company, global assets have grown from 440 trillion in 2000 to 1,500 trillion in 2020. Holy moly. I hadn't realized it was that high. That is absolutely insane. $1.5 quadrillion. Are you out of your mind? I mean, they're saying that that is global assets, and so that's a bit different to cash in hand, but $1.5 quadrillion? For goodness sake, the USA's GDP is only 21 trillion, so I guess when you put it into perspective like that, you got 35 trillion in oil, gas, and everything else, and they're only worth 21. That certainly puts into perspective, considering they're the biggest pile of cash in the world. And I feel as though I briefly have to touch on the military and the fact that she said they would enjoy more protection. And I feel as though, I mean, I guess maybe, but being such a heavy, close ally with the USA, you kind of already got it as is. I mean, if the USA decided they were about 250 years younger and just want to invade Canada again, I don't think the Canadians would make it back down to burning the White House just looking at the army, but generally, when you're all going to be fine and dandy and having a good friendship, I think you can enjoy the benefits of the USA without actually joining the USA.
Warming global temperatures are causing the ice to retreat, and that's opening up a new sea and trade route. Russia has already begun to build military installations and facilities. In the next few years, it's going to be pretty imperative that Canada and the United States do the same.
When was this made? Okay, 2018. Wow, so a few things have changed since then, especially in terms of Russia and everyone else's behalf, but I wonder how much progress has been made in terms of other countries establishing bases in the Arctic, because I don't actually know. Does anyone own the Arctic? I know some countries have slices of Antarctica, but I don't know about the Arctic Circle. Oh, okay, so 8 countries have territory within it: America, Canada, Denmark, by virtue of Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, and Sweden. But I don't mean the Arctic Circle, I just mean the Arctic, the icy place itself, because obviously there's a whole bunch of people that kind of border it or right there, but does anyone own it, or is it just a massive no man's land?
All of this being said, there would definitely be some difficulties if Canada decided to join the US. For starters, Canada and the US are very different when it comes to ideals. Canada is far more liberal than the US. The two countries have different styles of governments, legal systems, healthcare, gun laws, and tax systems. Would the United States be able to strengthen their gun control laws? Would the United States adopt universal healthcare? The answer to those questions is probably not.
And so all of a sudden you've got 35 million people that just had in their ideals just a utopia, and then suddenly they're living in the USA and they go, oh, this is just not what I signed up for. And I guess through the same reasoning, you would have a whole bundle of people that go, oh sweet, there's a whole bundle of things that I can now do or enjoy or whatever it may be. I mean, I can only imagine a lot of those people, if they are so keen to have these things, just move south. But either way, it would definitely be a bit of a give and take, and with 350 million people compared to 35 million people, you're going to cater to the 350 million, and once again, it's Canada joining the USA, not the other way around.
If Canada joined the US, Canadians would have to get used to the way the United States works and its values. It's unlikely the Canadians would ever accept relaxed gun laws and no free healthcare. There would obviously be backlash and riots, because finding a political common ground would be extremely difficult. Merging two complex entities is always difficult. Canada and the United States are two separate countries with strong identities. They are incompatible, politically and socially. That being said, both countries are great countries, and they—
What am I reading right there? I mean, yes, both countries are great countries, but look at that. Welcome to Canada, not very welcome to the United States. Especially with the cameras and spotlights on top compared to just general street signs. My goodness, one looks like a Willy Wonka font. I mean, maybe that is the Willy Wonka font. That's a massive W. But like they were saying, it would be a serious undertaking just to be able to merge these two countries. You have 35 million people that have just been displaced and are just agitated.
That being said, both countries are great countries, and they don't need to join forces. They're great allies. From a military standpoint, Canada is already protected by the US, so Canada essentially doesn't have a lot to gain. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
And I feel as though that is exactly what it comes down to. You know, these two countries have been right next to each other in peaceful times for a very long time. There was a bit of turbulence at the start, but they've moved past that. And really, from Canada's perspective, they just don't have that much to gain, but they have a lot to lose. I mean, from America's perspective, they have a lot to gain. They've got a lot of land, they don't have that many people, so it's not much of a burden. And so they are two separate countries for a reason, and that is because they offer different things. You know, you can very easily move between. If you were that unhappy with where you're currently living in either country, just go north or south and then you'll be sweet. But for them to merge into one country would just eliminate so many different options. It's like taking a burger and a soup, you know, two great foods on their own, but you don't really want to mix them together because then you can't really enjoy either. And so even though because of a few reasons it might sound like a great idea, you know, you'll be the biggest country in the world, there are just so many drawbacks, especially for Canadians, that it's just never going to happen. Canada will never join the USA, and hey, I think that's just fine. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if if this is the first video of mine that you are watching, then make sure to go check out any other ones I've done. Also make sure to go check out the original video down in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.